Charlotte Soccer Show. John Hayes, Danny Brams. Welcome to the post-match edition of the show. Danny, it's great to see you, and it's great to be on the back end of a 3-0 win over LA Galaxy in Coachella this morning. The game kicked this morning in Coachella, an 11 a.m. local kick. Just wrapped up about 20 minutes ago, and it's so great to have everybody here live. I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on all of this, Danny. So for me personally, I'm just excited to celebrate a win and celebrate a clean sheet.
Good times.
Come on. 3-0.
I love it, man. Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Charlotte FC. I was a little off there. I'm not in mid-season form. Charlotte FC. There we go. That's much better. 3-0, baby. We beat the Galaxy. Took them out. Took them on. Took them over. Pretty much dominance. I thought we were getting a little bit beat around early in the first half, but we kind of eventually asserted our will, put it all together, and just put together a really thorough performance. Kept through to, we didn't score any goals in the first half, had a couple nice chances, which we'll look at. We are here live on the Charlotte Soccer Show. We had 3 really nice chances that were all finished off in the second half with the subs coming in. And you can say what you want about preseason, but man, it was just nice to see balls kicked in anger again. It was just nice to see things clicking for our team. It was nice to see sort of this new look attack that we've been told is all addition by subtraction. And it all added up to 3 goals, Johnny. It was pretty nice. We looked good out there at times. We looked real good. And Copetti looked like he was having fun.
Yeah, he did. And that's going to be one of our big takeaways from today. We've got takeaways to talk about. We've got highlights to show from this match. We appreciate all the tremendous friends of the show are hanging out with us now live. We're going to show some highlights. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get your thoughts as well. So drop some comments.
We're going to reveal the trialist. We're going to reveal the identity of the trialist. We have done. I was firing off to my sources, and I've got some secret information that nobody else has. We know who the trialist is. We're going to reveal it today.
I think one of the best parts about our trialist bit on social media is that people actually think we don't know who the trialist is.
You think we don't know who the freaking trialist is? Come on now.
Yeah. But I mentioned the game was an 11 a.m. kick. And I want to remind you that this show is presented, of course, by our friends at Hopfly, and they've got a special beer this week, Danny. It's called Prime Time. This game wasn't in prime time. We've got prime time games coming up as well, but the Prime Time Kolsch style ale, it's one of those crispy ales, and it's one of those crushable crispy ales, Danny Brams. I can see you and I crushing one of these in the future. It's a crispy delight from the first sip to the last, adorned with citrus notes on the nose and a touch of noble bitterness on the finish. Say hello to the return of crisp and savor the refreshing journey from start to finish. Make sure you get your hands on one of those primetime Kolsch ales.
I know you love Crushable. Crushable is a huge thing in beer in your beer life, John, and I love crisp. So this is like the perfect beer for our show. The prime time, like the Kolsch. Like it's crushable and crisp. Usually, you think crushable, you think watered down, you think American Anheuser-Busch crap. This sounds like the real deal. I can't wait to go try one.
So let's get right into it, Danny. I think my first takeaway, and I think maybe this is the first highlight we can show. If you don't mind being on the 1s and 2s on the highlights.
I'm on the 1s and 2s, baby. I'm going to do my best. I got 2 statues up there that said I might know what I'm doing, even though I pointed in the wrong direction. So I don't even know how to do reverse polarity here on the old screen ski.
So the first takeaway is this is certainly what I would call a Copetti or Copety confidence game.
Shout out to the announce crew. I mean, you watch enough games, you're going to hear enough weird announcing and pronunciations and stuff like that. But that was a new one for Copety.
So it was Enzo Copetti. I know it's tough. As soon as I saw that it was the LA Galaxy broadcast team, and the broadcasters were very familiar with LA Galaxy and not as familiar with Charlotte FC, I thought there would be some funny commentary throughout the match. And what I didn't expect was our only sole designated player's name to be pronounced so far off. So
guy who was out in California 3 weeks ago for media day. You'd think they might have paid a little bit of attention, but you know what local H saying? You just don't get it. You keep it copacetic, and that's the way it went this week.
So let's take a look at this first goal from.
You'll see the goal. Let's see the goal.
Tavares knocks this one forward. Copetti with the chance. Puts it on his right foot. Fires and scores. And Charlotte takes the 1-0 lead inside 57 minutes with a direct play down the middle of the park as Copetti got beyond the defense and was able to beat the goalkeeper Micevic. It is 1-0 Charlotte FC. Good ball down the middle of the park. Mavinga stuck that left foot out. Couldn't get a piece of it, and that allowed Copetti to walk on in on Micevic. On the bounce, wrong-footed it, unfortunately. Micevic committed towards the near side. Good job, Copetti, to spat the net for the 1-0 Charlotte lead.
So I'll start with Enzo Copetti, then I'll let you talk about Tavares, Danny, because I think that ball there, that right-footed ball down the middle, beating two defenders was a really, really nice pass.
Yeah.
But certainly the point that I wanted to make about Enzo Copetti here to start off the show and why I'm calling this a Copetti confidence game is because he didn't start this game. Patrick Agyemang was given the start at the striker position, and it felt like there was a bit of service towards Patrick Agyemang. He didn't get on the end of a ball into the box. But when Copetti came onto the pitch, Danny, and you saw him taking up positions and you saw him working in that striker position, and in ways that maybe Patrick Agyemang, wasn't. And I want to be clear about this, right? Patrick Agyemang is a player that we seriously have high expectations for. He's a player that we really like, and he's a player that we think has a bright future. But Enzo Copetti right now, based on coming in that second half and based on the positions that he took up, his finishing ability there, I was really impressed. And not only do I think that Enzo Copetti will gain confidence from this performance today, I think fans of Charlotte FC will gain confidence in Enzo Copetti.
I'll gain confidence from the smile that we saw in the celebration of the goal. I love the ball. We'll talk about the ball in a minute here. If you're listening, we're showing just some replays of the goal as we talk about this here. And I love the way he kept his run onside. The ball's brilliant for keeping him onside, obviously. But, look at that. Look, he's so happy. He just scored the first goal of the Coachella Valley Invitational, he's just like when he scored against St. Louis. That's about as happy as I've seen him since he scored against St. Louis. So I'm really loving it. I think that Enzo has a chance to be the man this year, right? That's what he's always wanted, is that chance to be the man. And
he has and right now with no other designated player on the roster, with Patrick Agyemang, a really young project striker there as well. Copetti is all in this year. He's the guy. Metric of success checking in.
Here's what we got to do. So now we need to get the Westwood Tea Club, which should just be called the Charlotte FC Tea Club. You don't need Westwood's name on there because you're going to need to expand the brand beyond Westwood. You need to bring in Enzo. You need to bring in the Copetti. Copetti could be like what we drink, before matches. Maybe I slip a little whiskey into my Copetti. You never know.
I think the Copetti joke has about a 24-hour shelf life. After that, I don't think it's gonna be funny anymore.
New
but
DP
for right now,
I'm
happy to enjoy
says
it.
Brian Ebert. You gotta love it. But I think the ultimate point is what Joe Garcia here says, is that Copetti's mostly happy that Carroll's out of his way. And who isn't, right? Like, Carroll's out of everybody's way. Tavares, Agyemang, Copetti. It's amazing,
It's something I was thinking about last night, and as I was kind of thinking about the season ahead, it was the final sleep before the Charlotte FC season officially began. I'm kind of hard time sleeping. I'm calling the Coachella Invitational, the start of the season, because I think the preseason games that we've played so far was really part of training camp. This is a real competition. You can win this competition, the Coachella Invitational, and Charlotte FC, I think, is there to do that, especially coming off of a 3-0 win. But there's no doubt about this. And you mentioned his smile. Vibes are good right now within this locker room, and you can tell that this team is together. And I don't think we need to paint Carroll as a scapegoat. I appreciate what Joe Garcia is saying, that he's happy Carroll is out of his way. But you can go back, Danny, to last season where Carroll and Enzo Copetti were really taking up the same positions on the pitch. And that's the point that I want to make overall, Danny, was that you could tell when Copetti came on the pitch, he was taking up positions and nobody else was in and around him fighting for that space. And it was right. It felt free.
Well, isn't that what you said? You posted, if you follow us, you got to follow us on all the channels to get the full Charlotte soccer experience. Like you posted on our IG story the other day, your reaction to Copetti's workout photo, because he was grinding some biceps. And you're just like, I want Copetti huge and yoked this year. And dude's just bouncing off him. Did you see that today?
Yes, 100%. You could see him there taking up space, using his body and positioning. This is a Copetti confidence game, Danny. I'm gaining confidence in Enzo Copetti after this performance, and I think a lot of people in the fan base are. And when you think about players who are committed to this project in the very, very short term, Enzo Copetti is that. Enzo Copetti has a chance to go out this season and make up for what felt like a lost 2023 and bounce back with a really strong 2024.
Yeah, I mean that's what's got to happen, because if not, his ass will be back in Argentina real quick, real soon. Interesting to see everybody up there. We know that Vargas is still doing some citizenship issues down in Colombia. He's kind of indisposed. I believe that's meant towards building him to eventually someday not take up an international roster spot. I think he's just on that path, and this is a process. That's why he's not there now. Hopefully he'll join by the end of camp. But until then, we have Tavares, man. And I really like what we saw with Tavares. Let me just show the pass, and you love a good pass. Like
it's a line breaking pass.
The vision.
It's a line breaking pass. It's a
line breaking pass. Exactly. And keeps him on side, because when Enzo receives the pass, he is offside. But when this pass was made, we don't see it on the screen, but he was onside. And it's just like the vision to beat three guys with that pass and set Enzo up for a one-on-one. LA Galaxy, Mitrovic is supposed to be a decent keeper. He's a new keeper for them. I mean, look how that just went over. In hockey, they call that a two-line pass, right? My hockey knowledge isn't maxed out. But I also want to show, let me bring up another clip because this one's pretty nice too. This is the Tavares chance in the first half. Tavares started this game, and he got a really nice chance based off some really nice team play. And I think this chance, even though it didn't finish, it really showed the strength of Nathan Byrne, who's another guy you wanted to shout out. So Copetti played great. Tavares played great. Nathan Byrne played great. So watch him in this phase of play here, right? He kind of works the ball down the sideline, and he gets it to Arfield, another guy who had a great game. And look how we're just kind of like doing what we want. We're setting the build-up in a way that's a little more progressive, I think, than what you saw with Latanzio. I mean, build-up's build-up, but that ball right there, that pass. That pass from Byrne to Arfield was amazing. Almost got Ajamong a chance, but it was blocked. But then we stay with it. And Byrne cooks him and then sends in a left-footed cross right on Tavares' head. That's a great save. So it's like that could have, should have been a goal. Byrne shows a sick pass to set up a play. He shows then a cross with his other foot later in the same phase of play after Charlotte kept it in. And that to me was just outstanding. Tavares was nice on the play, and Byrne just absolutely was cooking guys out there.
Yeah, I think that's my second takeaway from this preseason match, Danny, is that Nathan Byrne was outstanding. And when you think back to last season, and when you think back to our last episode when I talked about the fullbacks being the strength of this team, you could see Nathan Byrne and his ability to bomb forward. You showed that cross, and that cross was a left-footed cross,
right?
And that pass into space was a right-footed pass. He has the ability to do it with both feet, and it was super interesting. And I was really good to see how outstanding Nathan Byrne was today. Because when you think about the unit, when you think about the squad, when you think about players that are automatically on the team sheet, I think Dean Smith has the ability tonight to just write down Nathan Byrne at the fullback position and move on with the rest of the squad.
Yeah, as Len Cornacchia commented there, Byrne cemented his place in the starting 11 today, and I think he was pretty much locked in anyway. I love Jalen Lindsey. I would play Jalen Lindsey every game. The only problem is that Byrne's in his way now, and I think Uranen is kind of going to be the default at left, but I mean, just, the movement without the ball even, and just sort of being out there in space and then finding more space with the ball. Just absolutely love it. The kid's amazing. Yeah.
How about the starting lineup, Danny? You did a nice job of putting together a graphic of the starting lineup. What'd you think of the starting lineup?
We do the graphics. We do the graphics. We do the I don't know if I have a default view for this this mode here, but we do these graphics, and this is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Ajimong started up top. How great did you feel when you saw Ajimong start up top?
Well, I felt like it was the right thing to do. I think get him out there, get him some minutes, start him up top, and get a run in. And I think Patrick Ajimong and Enzo Copetti are going to be sharing time in that number 9 role. And to me, that is, something that is great to see, right? You need depth at that number 9 position. And I think ultimately, whether Patrick Ajimong starts, and quite frankly, my first thoughts when Enzo Copetti came on, and he looked really good. He looked fit. He looked strong. He was pressing. When Enzo presses, like that's when I really start to fall for the guy.
Yeah, you fall.
And when he presses hard, I really love that. And I thought he pressed a lot more effectively than Patrick Ajimong did. And I started to think about Patrick Ajimong as a super sub. And I think when you are entering into this 2024 season and there's only one spot for a striker. Based on the game and based on how many goals Charlotte FC needs, or if they're trailing, Patrick Ajimong as somebody to come off the bench is an unbelievable weapon for Dean Smith to have. So I really like that.
He's a game changer because he always contributes to a goal. So you put him in when you desperately need a goal, right? For sure. And he just has the knack. The lineup looks good. I like the commitment to a 4-3-3. I think this is pretty much what it did look like in play. Where Diagra kind of playing behind Arfield, Diagra a little bit more roaming, a little more central. You know how often I complained last year about Brecht being pinned up against the sideline in Latanzio's system. Hated that. Thought Westwood was okay. Again, you have to make a point to watch Westwood a lot of times in a lot of games, and this was certainly one of those. Like, he does good, but you don't necessarily see what he's doing out there. But another invisibility, unfortunately, was the young kid. I don't think Petkovic made much of an impact. What did you think?
Well, you're leaning and setting me up for one of my other takeaways of this match, which was that Ricky Puig owned the midfield early. I thought our midfield was absolutely overwhelmed to start this match. I thought the 20-year-old Petkovic had a really difficult time finding the game. I'm not sure if there's going to be stats for this match, but I'd like to see how many touches that he had, how many passes completed that he had, because I don't think it was very many. So I think there was a little bit left to be desired with this midfield, and you could see a little bit of difference in class. I think Puig specifically is one of the best players in MLS, in my opinion. Yeah, sure. I think he's one of the best
Barcelona Academy
MLS midfielders. And I thought that his class was on full display early, and I think midfield is an opportunity. For instance, I think in that situation, right, and in that situation, Dan, and I mean this sincerely, is that there's one guy on this team that would have got the job done against Ricky Puig. It's Brant Bronico. That's your one-on-one defender, and I think that's why Brant Bronico is on this team, to lock people down in the midfield. So I still think there's a role for Brant in this squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we didn't see Brant today. Didn't see Kalina either. So, I mean, I don't think Kalina has anything to worry about. I think he's locked in number 1. I think it's just kind of Bingham and Marks getting some play. I know Bridget was happy. Shout out to Bridget McCall in the chat. I know she loved to see Georgie Marks get out there in the second half. We'll look at the second half in a minute. What did you think of – I mean, I love that Tavares is up there. I think Tavares can play that left wing. I think that's a Vargas spot when Kerwin's back, obviously. Urinen, I think the plan was just for him to play 30 minutes or so. He's kind of still getting in fitness and whatnot.
I think so too.
But when Diop came in, Pedro subbed out to left back and Diop played center back. Do you think Diop is our center back of the moment? I mean, when he comes in, he's left-footed, and both he and Pedro are the left-footed center back that Dean said he wanted, and we're running out of time to get one in the window. So,
Right. No, that's my final takeaway. I had, 4 really strong takeaways from this match, and Hamidou Diop is the left-footed center back for now. Whether Dean Smith is able to sign a left-footed center back, I thought he did really well in that position. And not only did he do well in that position, Danny, he also scored a goal.
Exactly. That's what you teed me right up. I got a goal for you. This is actually the third goal. We're going to look at the second goal in a little bit. That's kind of going to be our big reveal segment at the end that I teased at the beginning. But here's Hamidou Diop first.
Copetti with one, and the other scored by a trialist for Charlotte. Here's Copetti. Lets it go. The shot towards goal. Score! And Charlotte takes the 3-0 lead on the LA Galaxy with the set-piece goal.
And there it is. Fooled him. Got him. You even fooled the announcer. The announcer thought Copetti took it right at first because Enzo kind of like took that step towards it before Diop slotted it home. I like it. He just kind of snuck it in there. Goalkeeper wasn't ready, and Hamady decided to burn him. I love the idea of defensive players taking free kicks. I think that's always fun. It mostly because of like fantasy player and like fantasy soccer. Like I love to get like bonus points from defenders for things like that. So Diop looked pretty good. Len says Diop, he's deceptively quick. Bridget wonders about not seeing Tuiloma. I do wonder about that myself, but you like Diop. What do you think?
Well, I think Diop, as far as being a left-footed center back, he's the only one that qualifies that's on the team, Danny.
Right.
Right.
So Joe Pedro.
But yeah, that's
but he's
true.
Like a left. You see him as a left back.
I do see him as a left back, and I think, and that was the test case there to see those two players in both of those positions. But ultimately, I want to be clear, right? Because we're starting to get into these conversations about why didn't we see Bill Tuiloma? Why didn't we see Brant Bronico? Why didn't we see Christian Colina? Well, would you like me to tell y'all why?
Please do.
It's pretty simple, and let's not make this more complicated than it is. Charlotte FC plays on Saturday.
That's true.
And this is preseason.
We'll play again in a few days.
Yes.
And we have the thinnest squad in the league. So,
all those guys that didn't play today, they will play on Saturday. I promise you that.
Great call.
And what Dean Smith is doing is he's managing his squad. This is what professional management looks like. He needs to have guys ready to go on Saturday. This is preseason. Everybody's not fully match fit. And he's doing a really nice job rotating the squad. And that's what it looks like when you got a professional manager in the house, Danny.
Right, and we're missing Kerwin Vargas, not due to health reasons. So that's just like yet another thing that's kind of like knocking us down at the current moment. I agree with you. I totally expect to see Brant and Big Bill. We heard from Jeff Attinella, former teammate of Tuiloma, that he's expecting the Tuiloma-sance to come through. How about Joe Garcia, who totally agrees with you, John? It's nice to have a competent gaffer. Joe, shout out to you. Great contribution, as always, yes. I love this from Carl Blessing, this comment, though, from the chat. The announcer not knowing any of our players was hilarious. I agree. Like we talked about Copetti. We talked about the wrong call on the goal there. But let me tell you this. There's one player that nobody knew. Not that announcer, not anybody. And, of course, we're talking about Trialist. So who is Trialist, obviously, right? Like, let's first look at Trialist goal. So everybody knows. If you're actually paying attention, you know who Trialist is. I'm not just like, it's a bit just for anybody that thinks I'm out here being bad journalism or whatever that I always like to accuse other people of. But Trialist is Tariq Fosu, and here's what he did when he came out and started the second half.
Giveaway here by the Galaxy, and the shot is saved by Mitrovic. Second ball, score! And Charlotte takes a 2-0 lead on the Galaxy. Miscue in their own half. Trying advantage, and the Galaxy trail 2-0 now. Mitrovic played it forward. It was picked off. He had to make the initial save. It dropped down in front and sent on home.
Of course, Enzo celebrating like he scored it. Sorry, the clip glitched a little there, so you didn't quite see.
Glitched a little. I barely saw anything.
Just a little. You didn't really see the great aggressive play from Privet there, who like really stepped in and like that was us pressing. That the Tariq Fosu Trialist goal was an example of Charlotte FC like pressing because we started to feel ourselves. That it happened just a few minutes after Copetti's goal, and it was nice. It's nice to like get that, like, we steal it, we shoot it, they save it, and we score the rebound. That's the type of goal like we love to see. We didn't see enough of that in the past.
You know what type of goal it was also? The type of goal that Charlotte FC typically concedes.
Right.
It was
Exactly.
really, really nice to be on the other end of that. And it was Breck Diagra who stepped up and won the ball, Danny, in that scenario. And you took exactly what I wanted to say, which was that I talked about Enzo Capetti pressing and really setting the press and being the guy in that scenario to do the job. And I really loved what I saw from Enzo Capetti and Breck Diagra and Fosu and Tavares in that pressing situation in the second half. I thought it was a really, really good sign.
Yeah, and forgive me, I rushed my second half. I hate to apologize for mistakes, but I just being transparent. I actually put Romero in there twice. Romero did not sub in for Westwood. He subbed in for.
Well, Romero can do it all, Danny. He can play a couple different positions.
He can do it all. He can do it all. Someone did sub in for Westwood at some point, but a lot of guys did get out there. I just put that out there to show that Fosu was the guy. We know who Tariq Fosu is, and he's probably going to be signed at this point. He scored a goal. He looked good out there. He played the whole second half, and I don't see why not. Do you think it's time for this trialist to like finally be named? In the Game of Thrones references we love to make on this show, does a man need a name or what?
I've actually got a couple thoughts on this, Danny, and it's that first and foremost, yes, sign him. Sign him tonight and get the paperwork done and sign him tonight and get him on this squad. But the other point that I want to make about this, and you've already kind of alluded to this, the fact that the way MLS works is that when there's a trialist, you don't name him because he's not really signed.
Right. It's club policy is what I was told. I was told it's club policy to not name someone who's not under contract. So.
Yeah, I kind of feel that that's a little bit inhumane.
Right. You're just trialist, it's like
I do. I honestly feel like that's inhumane. There's like a bunch of guys with names playing on the pitch, and there he is with his Premier League or former championship.
Yep. Played under Dean at Brentford
in the championship. So you think about a guy like this, and I think he's a warm body with a pulse, and we need to make a signing, so get him in.
Yeah,
right. And he's there with the squad. He's building relationships. He can help, but
he's a free transfer. Just sign him.
I'm honestly being like tongue in cheek with the inhumane thing, but I don't like it. It actually rubs me the wrong way a little bit. I think there's some things about sport that feel a little bit aggressive, and I think the fact that there's somebody out there and people are refusing to call him by his name, I just find that to be very strange. I don't like it. No, it doesn't matter. It's just my opinion, but it is what it is.
It's weird. It is a little weird. It just feels weird. I agree. It just feels like, just name the guy. Keegan McDonald, we love the real Keegan. He points out, could be a work visa immigration thing. Probably as soon as he's got that cleared up, it looks like someone that Dean clearly wants. We talked on the show in the past about, like, does Dean have anybody on his list of guys he's worked with in the past that he wants to bring in? And that would be at least one guy. Ash asks, would he be a D player, regular player? I don't see him being a DP at all. I can't see.
No. This is not a DP signing at all. Just a regular player in an international roster spot. Remember, Charlotte FC has 652 international roster spots. So he's got a chance to sign on board in that spot. And I think Fosu is somebody that it should be signed for sure. Right? He's somebody that we could really count on, and the salary thing is a big deal, right? Because Jay Forrest puts out there, he says the thing. I don't have confirmation on this, so take Jay's word for it.
We trust Jay. We don't know Jay's sources, but we do trust him. Yeah.
For what it's worth, $325,000 is a lot of money on this Charlotte FC squad.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of players who make that kind of money.
Yeah.
So the negotiation,
but it's less than Carujo was making. It's like 60% of what Carujo was making. So,
but I want to be clear. Like to me, the Fosu out there and playing on the wing and potentially being a signing. That's, if I were to rank like the 10 things that I cared about in this match, it would be ranked 12th.
You don't care about new players?
Of course I do, but I mean, he's a man with no name playing on our squad in a preseason game, right? You got to give me something.
Man. He's the faceless man. You know,
you got to give us a little something besides that, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm more interested in seeing the young guys who have been on this team for a long time, and I think there was a good question here, or a good statement by McLean Robertson, who says, is the Dean Smith era going to be the era of youngsters, or is it just the preseason? McLean, I think that's a fantastic question. What do you think, Danny?
It's what we were told from the beginning. Dean Smith specializes in young players. Dean has cleared the decks. Dean has gotten a lot of guys out that he didn't see as part of his long-term vision. This guy's all about long-term vision. This guy's all about, I need a technical director who will run my academy. You know, I don't think he was brought in Tommy Smith, but just like, that's like a complimentary move, because like it's a whole holistic approach to the club and the franchise, and the project is like still growing, and this is like a reset. You know, this is like, it is a rebuilding year. Like, I don't know if anyone would have denied it beforehand, but you know now that this is a rebuilding year. So I mean, it is what it is. We may be able to rebuild and thrive, but we're rebuilding. We've kicked almost everybody that was here before out of the club, so it is what it is.
Yeah, certainly is.
And, you know, but it was great to see the young players, like you said. Let me shout out JJ for correcting. Said I put Romero came in for Westwood. It was actually Scardina. Thank you for reminding me there. Love Nicky Scardina. Loved seeing him play on Legacy last year. So Dean wasn't here for the Legacy, but he's bringing these Legacy guys along and saying, get in my lineup, get on my pitch.
Right, because whether it's Crown Legacy or whether it's Charlotte FC, it doesn't matter to Dean Smith. If you're a player within this if you're a player within this organization, he needs to take a look at you. And yeah, sure, there's tape out there. You can watch the Apple streams of last year's Crown Legacy matches, but he needs to see it with his own two eyes. He needs to get the eye test done for a lot of these young players. And it's really, really nice to see. And I want to call out Spurts guy as well. Really nice to see a solid 4-3-3 where we kept it simple. Everyone knew their role. And I think this specifically is about the back line, right? I think Christian Latanzio, his style, his Pep Guardiola style with the left center back, pushing up the pitch, really trying to play out of the back within the engine room. You know what Dean Smith asked his back line to do? Play a back four, a traditional back four. Y'all know what to do. And you know what ends up happening? Clean sheet.
And fullbacks, when we're in possession, fullbacks get up and provide some width. Don't be standing near the center circle like Harrison Affle and Jalen Lindsay always were for the last year and a half, you know? So, yeah, I totally agree. It's a much better, like, it's a back to basics system. Shout out to Spurts guy for pointing that out. I think that's correct. I loved what I saw. I think that's the whole part of, it's not just what Dino can do for the individual players. It's what he can do for the system and making the players thrive, you know? And, you know, it was refreshing to see, you know, it was impressed with the structure of the team. I'm just reading off comments from our viewers here. I do have this question for you though, John, and I know my answer, but does this game change our expectations at all for the season? I know we've been kind of measuring those.
No, this game I don't think should change your expectations for the season. I do think what this game should do is change your expectations about Enzo Copetti. And it's not because he scored the goal. It's because Enzo Copetti really looked like a true number 9 on the pitch in the second half. I mean, it jumped off the screen, Danny. His positioning was fabulous. His finishing was fabulous. They took him very seriously on top of the free kick. That's why Hamady Diop was able to slip that left-footed low left-footed curler in that bottom left corner of the goal. It was a beautiful free kick from Diop, and Copetti standing over the. What's funny about that is typically it'd be Carroll in that situation in the past, and Copetti would be pissed. Copetti would
I thought about that because when I first thought Copetti's because I misheard that Copetti scored at first, and I was like, man, he's got a brace with a free kick goal, but that was Diop. But still, but he contributed to it with his little stunt run. You know, he's like actually. And what else did he not do? What did he never do?
Oh, you know what? There was one moment that he didn't get fouled and flail all over the pitch,
right? Exactly,
and slow the game down.
He
Like
bounced
that to
guys
me,
off him instead. Right.
yes, like that to me was one of the biggest parts of this game, is that Enzo Capetti just looked like a player that was interested in actually playing the match and not getting into it with the referee and not being the center of the attention. He was doing his job and really doing it well. I thought there was a really funny moment though. There was a funny moment where he slipped embarrassingly, and then he turned around and like punched the ground where the grass was. Like he got pissed off at the grass because he slipped. He's an emotional player. He's like, and I want to make this point about Enzo Capetti too, is that I think one thing that we can all rally around is the fact that Enzo Capetti is an emotional player, right? Enzo Capetti is somebody that elicits emotion, and sometimes that emotion is happiness. Sometimes that emotion is anger. And his ability to do that on the pitch, it's not something that everybody has. And we need to figure out a way, Charlotte FC needs to figure out a way to bottle that up, Danny, and project that emotion onto the other squad, right? Because I think that there's a lot of mind games that's being played out on the pitch. And Enzo Capetti, if he wants to play the mind game, he can play the mind game with other players. Don't play the mind game with the referee.
Right. Oh, thank you. Exactly. Play the mind game to win. When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. And it doesn't work going against the referees. You're exactly right. Play against the other players for sure. The referees are not your opponents.
I love that take. I just want to jump in here too, Danny. We've been doing this for 35 minutes. Just want to welcome anybody who's joined the stream late. We're happy to do this, and we're happy to be here on Charlotte Soccer Show. It's John Hayes, it's Danny Brams, it's Charlotte FC 3, LA Galaxy 0. So if you're joining the stream right now, hop in the comments. We'll get to your questions. We love hanging out with the Tifos, and of course, we're as always presented by Hopfly on the show. And as I'm looking at the calendar, Danny, right, let's break this thing down. Charlotte FC has a match on Saturday, and where they're playing the Earthquakes. Charlotte FC has a match then the following Saturday, the 17th, wrapping up the Coachella Valley Invitational against Minnesota, a team that we're playing on Sunday at the Keep. It's our only Sunday game scheduled right now at home, I believe, this season. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then finally, that next week, that's how close we are to kickoff here, is that 2 weeks from this Saturday, we will be at Hopfly tailgating there before the match. We've got an unbelievable setup there. Big news is that our friends at Rare and Retro Soccer will be there as well with kits for sale. And they've got great customer service where you can buy a kit and pick it up later or have it shipped to you. So we'll have Ram Retro Soccer with us there out in the parking lot. And we're going to be celebrating, hopefully, a special crushable cocktail keg from Elizabeth Parlor Room as well. So not only the Tifos are coming together, all our partners here in town, all the people that we really love that are trying to build this soccer community here in town.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. I know a lot of the Mint City folks are showing up. That's going to be great. I cannot wait for this party at Hopfly, and just to get like the string of parties and get back in that like party all the time atmosphere. I want to shout out Jorge Torres. He's one of the great Tifos, and he says, "Is there a way for y'all to pull up Dean Smith's game reaction video?" And I'm thinking to myself, Jorge, it's the Charlotte Soccer Show. Of course, there's a way for us to pull up Dean Smith's reaction video. Are you kidding me? Let's hear what Dino had to say. What about it?
Overall thoughts on the game. This is the first game that fans could watch, albeit on a live stream. What do you hope they saw from your style and your team today?
What I'd like to have seen, they probably didn't see, because the first 30 minutes we were second best, but we stayed in the game. We were hard to beat. They didn't have massive chances, which was important, but we got our press wrong at times and they played through us a little bit too easy. And I just felt the physical side of the game, we probably had to make more contact with them than we did. But we stayed in the game, and that's the important thing. They changed some players after 30 minutes, and it probably helped us that they did that. But the reaction to that and staying in the game was excellent, because I thought the second half we deserved the win and pressed really well, got our press right at times, and scored 3 good goals.
Enzo, good goal from him, running in behind pretty consistently. What do you see from him today? How do you hope he can best fit in this team and best succeed?
Yeah, I think with him and Patrick, I've told them that I need them to be running in behind a lot more. I want them to be running towards the goal rather than into wide areas. And we saw that probably not so much from Patrick in the first half because we didn't have as much ball and we didn't win the ball back as much. But he took his goal really well, and he was a good selfless player today, Enzo. So really pleased with him.
Right. At the end of the game, I think 4 super draft picks, 3 homegrowns on the field. How have you felt the young guys have come along so far in preseason?
Yeah, it's been a little bit tough on them because the last couple of games we've given away some late goals, and there's a feeling it's because the younger lads are on the pitch. But we just got our structure right, and they're still learning as well. And I felt we had our structure right today. We managed the game really well with them young lads on, and could have scored a couple of more with the counter-attack opportunities we had.
Thank you very much, Dino.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, Dino. Thank you. That's great.
Cheers. Couple things I need to say before we dissect his comments. Number one, Will Martin always does a great job with the post-game interviews with Dean Smith. Great to hear Will ask those questions after these preseason matches. He's doing a fantastic job with that. Shout out to Will. And then secondly, I mean, Dino looks like he's ready for the music festival tonight. Those shades were sweet, Danny.
Absolutely,
wow, I mean,
absolutely true. Let's bring it up again, just on a pause here. I mean, he looks good. He looks real good, right? I mean, that's
our manager.
What do you think of the look?
Dean Smith is our manager. I mean, it's special.
Yeah, I mean, Laddie was famous for the skinny jeans, right? So I like this look a lot more than skinny jeans and resting bitch face. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Okay, so let's get into what he said. Okay,
what he said, which is pretty much a lot of what you said.
Yeah, I felt that way for sure as he was speaking. That his takeaways from the game were very similar, and I think that the Suns doing him well. Keegan, good call. I mean, he's somebody that's been managing in England his entire career. This time in February, he's usually dealing with an FA Cup match. He's dealing with a cold, rainy night somewhere in the Midlands. Right. And this morning in the Coachella Valley, he's just kicking back, managing his team in beautiful California.
Palm Desert. I could do Palm Desert, right in the shadow of the San Jacinto Mountains. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. But what about the first 30 minutes, right? Because if you're just joining us, this was one of my biggest takeaways from the match is that Puig owned that midfield early. And I thought Puig, in my opinion, is one of the best players in MLS. And Dean Smith saw that as well, is that Puig was owning the game and LA Galaxy for the first 30 minutes were the better side. But it's nice to know that Charlotte FC was able to grow into the game.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. And he did admit, that's why when you go back to Ash Hamrick's question from earlier in the show, I would be like, I can't change my expectations for the season based on this game because LA Galaxy's A, not a good first team, B, played their C team for about 60 minutes of the match. So we can't really take a lot of stock because the opponent was really bad. It was just nice to get a clean sheet and 3 goals, though. So, a 1-1 draw in that situation or a 2-1 win was not going to feel as nice as a 3-0 win. I think we can feel good about everything we saw today. It can't reset the expectations, and Dean knows that. I think it's clear from his post-game comments. He also shouted out Enzo. He was as big on Enzo as you were, and he mentioned running in behind. He mentioned getting in behind. That was the thing, and that's what we saw on the goal.
Yes, 100%. And I think the other thing that he said there that was really important was mentioning Enzo and Patrick specifically, right? Dean Smith and this project, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, we're starting to see some decision-making, right? Kamil Jóźwiak, your player profile is not what I want. Mm-hmm. Karol Swiderski, you want to go right ahead. What does that mean? Enzo Capetti and Patrick Agyemang, they're my strikers, and I'm working with those 2 players to be my strikers in 2024 until potentially the summer and you potentially sign another designated player or where you sign another designated player, right? I think that is a huge opportunity. You're seeing decisions to play young players, right? And those decisions to play young players are paying off. Who made that assist, Danny? A player, Tavares from Crown Legacy, a player that Dean Smith, if you remember previously in Miami, Dean Smith said he really likes the feet on Yuri Tavares. Mm-hmm. And he's somebody that has impressed in preseason, and he saw it again today.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. If Copetti's great, then we're going to be very good. I really honestly believe that. So Copetti earning high marks for the manager. Agyemang maybe getting some learning points. Agyemang was part of that first 30 minutes that we were not that effective. I will shout out, though, Ajimong did have, if I can call up one more clip here, let me fire up a clip that is worth watching at least, which was the Scotty Arfield chance, because Scotty played really well. We haven't really talked about Scotty in this show, and that's fine because he was active but didn't really do anything. But this was some nice build-up here as we're watching in like the 37th minute. And it's Byrne, with a nice
posture, forcing the
well, actually, that wasn't Byrne, that was Malanda, right? And then Ajimong with a nice, cut back there. Arfield doesn't do that well with the chance, but Ajimong's trying to create. So it's not like Ajimong had a horrible game, but you could tell the manager noted that Copetti certainly outplayed him if you're looking at 45 minutes versus 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's a great call. I made a note that in that minute it was Nathan Byrne to Patrick Ajimong and to Scotty Arfield. Mm-hmm. And that combination play, I think, is really good. And what is the cliche for a soccer play-by-play announcer? He would have liked to have a second chance at that one.
Mm-hmm.
That left-footed strike. Yes. That left-footed strike right at the top of the box. One-on-one with a keeper. I think Scotty typically does better with that, but this is preseason. And Greg Franco, I heard him check in earlier asking about Scotty Arfield at right wing. I think what that is Scott Arfield being the ultimate professional, being able to play multiple positions. Right now, there's a hole at right wing, and let's count on the veteran Scotsman to plug the hole and get the job done.
Yeah, and I like Scotty Arfield on the right wing a lot more than Deagra on the right wing, because I like Deagra more in the middle. Scotty, I think, knows how to make the right wing work for him, and there he is cutting in from the right wing to create this chance. And again, I mean, he is wide open with a struck at the left. He probably just was a little off balance, and he knows he kind of wasted the chance. But I did think for the first 15 minutes, he probably had the most touches on the pitch. And I love the idea of Scotty Arfield playing more minutes. I don't know if it'll really happen. I don't know if today showed us anything, if that will actually happen, but I'm never upset when he's on the pitch. That's for sure.
Well, when Yuri Urinen came off after about 30 minutes, you shot me a note and said, like, is that an injury substitution, or does that have to do with him maybe coming back for an injury? And I think I thought it was a fair question, because all of Charlotte FC's positive play was coming down that right-hand side through Nathan Burns, Scott Arfield, and then ultimately into Patrick Ajimong there. I thought
Yuri was just running wind sprints out there for most of the game.
Yes, that left side there in the first half was not creating much of anything. And Pekovic was on that side as well. And I think that was maybe a reason why I kind of circled him as somebody that did not look and have the game that maybe he wanted to have. But that's okay. He's 20 years old. And, he's somebody that we can take a look at and say, okay, if he's going to be a player in that left midfield position, we have the playmaker there with Deagre on the right-hand side. And that's where this connection, when you think about this 4-3-3 lineup, I want to be very, very specific here, is that the connections are very easy to see. It's Byrne to Deagre into Arfield into Ajimong. You want to work the ball up the line, and you want to be threatening down that right-hand side. That's why Dean Smith wants pace in this squad. That's why he wants pace at the wing positions. And if you inject pace into where Scotty Arfield is playing there, that can really work out for you. And I think ultimately on that left-hand side, the connection between Urinen, Pekovic, and Tavares in that first half, it just wasn't there. And what it took was, and I think this is an important point. I haven't mentioned this yet about the Copetti goal.
We saved the good stuff to the end on this show. This is the reward for everyone who's still here. Nice job, Tifos.
Did you see where Tavares was when he played that ball?
Yeah.
Danny?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was not in an advanced position. He retreated to receive the ball in an area that he could receive the ball. He wasn't receiving the ball. There was no service to him at that left wing. So he did a really, really nice job of coming back to receive the ball in his half of the field, pick his head up, find his striker. It's a really elite play. It's a professional play. And it's something that Yuri Tavares needs to hang his hat on, because ultimately when you're not getting service at the wing position, your job is to retreat into your own half and get the ball, lift up your head, and make a play. This look at it here, Danny, is brilliant. If you just press play here, he's got the ball on his left foot.
I will press play, but just first, look at those palm trees and those mountains. I mean, holy cannoli! I wish I was there. By the way,
I'm
just
physically
like inside,
here, but I'm mentally
like behind the scenes of the show, John and I were like sitting on plane reservations to go out there to this tournament, and we almost made it happen and couldn't quite make it happen. But man, it looks nice out there.
Yeah, I'm physically here, but I'm mentally there. There's no doubt about that. But look at him here. He's on the ball. He comes back to receive it. He takes a look up and he uses that right foot, and he lobs up a delicious ball for Enzo Capetti. Catches him in stride. Capetti does the right thing. He asks the keeper to go low and slots it around it. It's just that's in that area right there. That is a very dangerous area. If you're the type of player that can retreat into your own half, receive a pass, and look up and create. There's a famous pass, Danny. I forget who made the pass, but we were there in Atlanta, the Charlotte FC's first match in Atlanta. Very, very similar to the pass that ultimately led to the game-winning goal for Atlanta United in that game where we were pitch side. Remember that ball that we saw?
That was Marcelino Moreno. Sadly, unfortunately, I do remember.
You remember, right? That area of the pitch. If you have class, you can really do strong work there.
Yeah, no doubt. And Tavares. So it starts to beg the question of like, would Tavares potentially be the starting winger ahead of Arfield once Vargas is back? Can Tavares, like spinning it forward? Can Tavares continue to play well enough in Coachella so that on February 24th, he's out there in the starting 11 with Kerwin Vargas fully back? You think that could happen?
Well, here's what I'm starting to think.
Signings? Or would it be Fosu? Would it be the trialist?
Well, here's what I think is that Kerwin Vargas should have the opportunity to start. If he doesn't, that's okay. Remember at the end of last season where Scotty Arfield and Justin Meram were the dynamic duo, the subs off the bench late in the match, and Christian Latanzio can count on them. I think that Justin Meram, he's been replaced by Tavares. Yuri Tavares is that player that is going to be that 1-2 duo off the bench with Scott Arfield if they both can't get in the starting lineup. They're both going to play. There's no doubt about that. And then I think that top three that you're seeing today is ultimately not the starting forwards for this club, but they're three players that can come off the bench and make a real goal-scoring difference for the club, and that's a huge asset for Dean Smith.
I felt like this had the chance to potentially be a starting back four and a starting midfield three with a different keeper and front three than we'll probably see. That's kind of the way I saw it. But we got two more games to go. That'll be fun, competitive games, like you said. I want to shout out everyone who's still with us in this channel. We've been going like almost an hour live here after the game, and it's been fun. Dean Smith's, formal presser is not going to kick off for another few hours, but it was cool to get some of his on-pitch reaction. I want to shout out Ewan Renard, one of our favorite tacticians on Twitter, a guy who's contributed to the Full-Time Roundup podcast, and just an all-around good guy, voice in the Charlotte community. A couple other pods he's on a lot of the times, I think Crowdcast. So welcome, Ewan, and just welcome everybody who's here. Like, thanks for all your comments, and like you can feel the joy. Like after everything, it's been a rough week for Charlotte FC fans. I guess that's where I want to end. Is just that, like, there's been a lot of like drama over kit releases and freaking complaints about signings, and people telling other fans to shut the fuck up and stuff like that. And it's just like, hey, we won 3-0. We got back on the pitch. We got to have a nice day. I feel pretty good about it. Wait, I don't hear you.
It's a great takeaway. My takeaway is that the vibes are good. You can tell that the vibes are good in the locker room, and a 3-0 win, Danny, only helps those vibes, right? The 3-0 win is a very, very good thing for this locker room. It doesn't mean anything when it comes to the standings. It doesn't mean anything as far as what Charlotte FC can do this season, but it helps build momentum, and that's what this squad needs. It needs momentum heading into that February 24th match against NYCFC.
It's a great point that you've harped on, and you've been one of the few voices, even way more than me. I give you credit for this, Johnny, because you're a level-headed guy. I'm super, I'm here, there, and everywhere. You're like right, down the middle for the most part. All I can say is, as bad as the vibes may have been in the fan base recently, the vibes in the locker room have been great. Like seeing the guy, you're like, you have the right vision. You're focused on what is the squad doing, and we need to start taking our cues as fans from the squad and seeing what our players are doing. They're having fun playing in the pool in California. The team's releasing all kind of like fun social videos. Scotty's fucking around with the cameras and stuff like that. It's great, So like, maybe we actually do have a good, fun squad that's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun to watch this year. Maybe we should quit bitching so much.
Right, and it's not about bitching. Like there's obviously room for improvement in the roster, right? There's room for improvement in the roster, and that will come. And Dean Smith harped on it in his introductory press conference. He asked for patience. So I would look towards the fan base, and I would say it's February 7th. Hey, even the broadcast. Think about it this way, Danny. Even the broadcaster who did the match, who had never heard of 99% of these players from Charlotte FC, knew that. He goes, at one point he was like, well, there's still, it's only February 7th and a lot of MLS teams are still building their roster and there's going to be players to come. Like even he knew that, and he doesn't even know how to pronounce Copetti. And
Copa tea.
So
have a Copa tea with your second half goal.
So it's been a pleasure doing the show with
always,
you, Danny.
Wait, one more. Always the Copa tea.
It's been a pleasure doing the show. I appreciate all the Tifos hanging out in here. It's been great to get your live comments and just a couple extra comments before we get out of here. Zachary Branham says, "What a game, much needed, showing to ease a little of the tension in the fan base." He's spot on. And Kyle Floyd, maybe I'm sipping the Kool-Aid, but that game helped ease my stress a little bit. So I think
I'm
that's
sipping the espresso, and I'm with you, Kyle.
Yeah, so I think the big takeaway from today is that it certainly was a great day for Charlotte FC. It's a great day for the Charlotte FC fan base, and the best news is that we go again on Saturday against the San Jose Earthquakes.
We do this again on Saturday?
We could do this again on Saturday. Not the worst
fun.
idea in the
I
world.
said we do it again.
Do us a favor.
Let the Tifos decide, maybe.
Yes, let the Tifos decide. Do us a favor. Like this episode on YouTube. Drop a comment. Share it with a friend. Make sure you subscribe to our feed. Put on your notifications. When you put on your notifications, you have the option to select notify me when Charlotte Soccer Show goes live. I think it's a really smart thing to do. Click that notification. And then if you're an audio listener, if you're listening to the podcast, I hope this was an easy listen for you. We did have a lot of video elements in this show, but we do our best to try to make this an audio experience as well. So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast, and give us a rating, give us a review on the podcast. And any final thoughts, Danny?
For the crown, baby.